evening and welcome to another episode of Monday Night Football live on Radio Saltire. Tonight we've got a very special episode for you. I am joined in the studio by Sean and Scott. Of course, I'm Craig. I'm your token hibby this evening. And we've also got a very special guest, former Hearts and current Raith Rovers captain.
Oh, that's a good
start,
What a
Craig.
start, eh? What a start.
Unbelievable. Jason Thomson. Jason, thanks very much for taking the time to join us this evening.
Hi there, Jason. So we thought we would discuss at length tonight your time at Hearts over what was a number of years under a number of different managers.
Yeah.
Now, we thought to start easy though and just ask for your sort of, just a brief sort of, how shall I put it, a brief reminisce over your time following the club prior to joining in 2003. What was your main memories and favourite players that you followed during that time?
Well, growing up, obviously, I grew up in Lonehead, which is a very dominated Hearts. The odd Hibs fan is there as well, and I think my first memory of a game would be, I think Hearts played Newcastle. It must have been some sort of friendly. This is very vague, and I think Peter Beardsley scored. That's how
I think that was the 1-0 game.
1-0.
I think that was just when the school stand was opened.
Yep, and I think I might have sat in that stand actually. That was my dad, and then after that I was at the '98 Scottish Cup final at Celtic Park. That was one of my first proper memories. Going along with my dad and the rest of my friends. It's the first time I've seen a group of grown men crying, and I was probably 10 or 11 thinking what's actually going on. The '98 Scottish Cup, and I mind I had the big massive poster right over my wall once I had it, feeling Gary Locke, and who then became my coach and then my manager. So it was, I don't think I ever told him that actually, that he was on my wall for a good few years. But that was one of my earliest moments following Hearts, and through the years I had season tickets, me, my dad and my brother and whatever else. And something else that sticks in my mind is just before I signed for the club that summer, Hearts it was the last game of the season at home, and for whatever reason, I can't even mind what it was, there was some sort of pitch invasion. I'd ran on with all my mates, and then I mind coming away at the time thinking, what if somebody's seen me and I'm meant to be signing with this club in a couple of months' time, and I've been running on the pitch and stuff. But I've grew up supporting the club, and I've got my own kids now, and I've been to a few games along with them as well. So it's been good to get back, and obviously I can only go when I'm not playing as well. So it's good to carry on the tradition through the family, which I'm sure thousands of fans do.
Well, we'll try and keep things positive and not talk too much about what's going on currently at the club then. But just going back to you initially signing for the club in 2003, how did that move come about, and who was it that you mainly had to deal with at the time with regards to getting your contract?
Well, I think I'd played with Tynecastle Hearts, and through the youth I'd been there since 10 or 11. I'd been at Lonehead Minors before that. There was a few of us that moved on and stuff, and it was John Murray actually, who I think John's still there, still doing his business. I think he's still, I'm not sure what his title and stuff is at the moment, but yeah, it was John Murray, and then with John McGlynn, who was, he was a massive influence on my career, and as a person as I am, I'd done the hard 3-year YTS under the leadership of John McGlynn, and I think any boys you speak to who worked under John McGlynn, he wanted stuff done properly, and that's that sort of development of the person and player I am today. So yeah, it came to the stage where I got the opportunity to leave school I was 15 when I left, and sign for the team I'd supported, which, looking back now, you probably don't take it in as like, I'm signing with Hearts, and what an opportunity, what a dream this is. But looking back now, when you think, that's, no many people and fans get the chance to do that. You see whatever Hearts get at the moment, 17,000. I'm sure every single one of them would get their right arm and right leg to get on the pitch, and that's something that I can say I've done, and something I'm quite proud of as well.
In terms of the environment that you grew up in as a young player at Hearts, what would you say has changed when you compare that to what you see nowadays that a young player has to go through? Would you say that there was more of a sort of boot room sort of environment back then? You were cleaning the books, you were doing all the chores. Have you noticed a significant change even in the short time between you developing as a youngster and what you see now?
Yeah, I think definitely. I think I done, like you say, the cleaning the boots, and that was possibly. I think you speak to a lot of boys, that is some of their best time in football. See, the 3 years as my apprenticeship was, I made some really good friends and had some really good memories. And as I say, you speak a lot of boys that you'll speak to now. That is a massive part of growing up. And like the boot room, and I was probably at the age where I was just getting the tail end of the sort of old school, if that's how you want to look at it. It wasn't such an academy, and everything seems to be a bit wrapped in cotton wool and an academy sort of thing. Young boys don't clean boots, don't pump balls up, don't whatever. I was doing as much as we're footballers. I know a 85 or 95 job. My 3 years YTS, I was a 84, 85, as I say, under John McGlynn, which wasn't easy, but as I say, it was probably one of the highlights of my career so far. Was growing up in that boot room environment, doing all the dirty stuff, cleaning stands and stuff like that. And I don't think that would ever happen now, as far as I'm aware. But it was, as I said, it was brilliant at the time.
Whose boots was it that you were tasked to clean?
I cleaned Alan Maybury's. I don't know if it was the sort of position you got put in. I used to clean Alan Maybury's, Graham Weir's, and Peter Houston's. That was the first three I can remember. Weary was a great tipper at Christmas. I think at one stage he said he had sold his golf clubs to give me £100 at Christmas, which was brilliant. Mabes, not so much. I don't know if I didn't do them so well. But I never got as much with him, and I'm not sure I got anything off Housty. I think there was a week I forgot Housty's 3 days in a row, and I mind he got me. Bearing in mind I was 15, 16 maybe, and he got me in front of the whole first team dressing room and slaughtered me. I just stood and I just thought, I'm never going to do that again, and I never did. And that's the way I learnt. That was the way, back then we learnt about doing the jobs and learnt the hard way, so to speak, that I wasn't going to forget Housty's boots again.
See, on that, Jason, do you think that, just going off a wee bit, do you think that's something that's lost in football these days? Because we quite often hear, players who are now sort of approaching their late 30s, players who are retired, that they often talk about the respect that they learn as youngsters, having these jobs, the painting the stands, cleaning the stands after games, cleaning boots and whatnot. I mean, for what ex-pros have said, that's something that's kind of lost for the game now. Do you think that that's something that youngsters these days could be doing with being brought back, just a wee bit of that sort of discipline?
I would agree with it. I'd agree with a big part of that obviously football has changed, and a lot more now is football academies, and let's get the youngsters concentrating solely on football and stuff. But then I think then this bubble can be created that youngsters fall into, and all the other stuff, social media and things that come with it. And as I said, that was a great part of my YTS was the 3 years learning the hard way. But I certainly agree with that. I think young boys now, you can speak to. I mean, I used to go into the dressing room where it was to clean boots, and I would honestly, my eyes would be right down at the ground. I wouldn't speak unless I was spoken to. And even, I think if I did get spoken to, I'd go bright red, because I was just, it was just whoever, Stephen Presley's, Andy Webster, you were a bit of a nervous wreck about them. And now you can get 17, 18-year-olds, they tell you what to do.
Putting the music and that on themselves.
But I think, that's no just what I see now. I think that's throughout football, and it does change. And people might say, looking at it and say, oh, it's all the old school mentality, this, that and the other. They do need the proper coaching and these academies, which I fully agree with. But there could be that that little bit of sort of earn your stripes, so to speak, that some youngsters don't particularly need to do these days.
I'd agree with that.
Now on to how you actually started playing for the first team and the circumstances surrounding that. Now the date was the 12th of March 2005, and due to, I think it was a flu epidemic that had been sweeping through the first team at the time, you were given your chance by then manager John Robertson. Now, given the circumstances, how much notice did you actually receive that you'd be starting the game, and how was the news given to you?
As you say, it's 2005, so it's a long time ago now, but I do remember that it was Inverness, and there was this sort of flu epidemic had went through the club, and at the time it was Robbie Neilson who had been playing, and there was doubt that he might not be playing. And I think Robbo just stopped me in the corridor one day, and I didn't even know if I was on my own. That was the sort of way Robbo done stuff. It was just, spur of the moment sort of thing. And I think he had said, "You fancy playing on Saturday?" And obviously, aye, definitely, not a problem. And then leading up to that week, the Thursday, Friday, sort of, we did shape or whatever, and I knew I was playing. So it was, I was 17. I'd been out a year out of school, so it was a bit like, wow, I'm actually going to play, and I mind going home to tell my dad and stuff. And there's always something that sticks in my mind. That night, the Friday night before the game, Gary Naismith, he's from Olenhead as well, and his sister stays across the road from where I stayed at the time, my parents, and he obviously found out I was starting. He came across, knocked the door, and wished me luck, which I don't know why, it just sticks in my mind. It's a great thing to do. He was still playing at Everton at the time. He must have been, I'd imagine he was, or Sheffield, wherever. And he come over and wished me the best of luck. And I just went out and played. I think we got beat, did we?
I think it was
2-0. Aye, so good start. But we got beat 2-0, and I received the man of the match, the All Sports man of the match that day, which is something else I always remember. And I got a £50 All Sports voucher, and I wasn't allowed the champagne because I was still too young. But no, it was a great day, a proud moment for myself. As I say, that was my first start for Hearts. I was still a young boy, and looking back now, 17 probably didn't mean like, it obviously mattered to me, but looking back it was like a bit like, I've just played for Hearts, the team I've supported all my life, and I've had a chance to do that, whereas a lot of folk don't. But when you're 17, you have a bit of, you don't worry about it, you just go over it. A lot of stuff just goes right over your head. But
in terms of that initial game, the average age of that team was particularly young, as we've mentioned, with regards to the lack of players that they had at the time. Who was it that you depended on during that first match to kind of coast you through the game?
Well, you might catch me here because I totally can't mind. One player I remember who was playing is Neil Janchik.
Yeah.
And I probably wouldn't have depended on Yanni, but for some reason I mind he was there, and he had bleach blonde hair, and that is possibly the only memory I've probably got in that game, which is
It was a very young team at the time.
It was a very young team. I'm trying to remember. I think
Christoph was playing.
Christoph probably played.
And I think Andy Webster and Craig Gordon were playing, but at the time they were still
young.
It
was probably Webby. Webby was the type of guy that, even though he was young, he had that presence and look that, like I said before, is one of the guys that'd be like, look at what I would be a wee bit scared to, have a go at Webby and that. So, Webby was one of the guys. He was his own sort of person, and he would take the team by the scruff of the neck. He was one of the guys. So, if you put him in the spot, I would say Webby if he was playing, aye. But as I say, I really only mind Yanni for some reason, some strange reason. But
now, Tynecastle can be viewed as a positive for Hearts players in terms of when things are going well, but for a youngster it can be quite a daunting place, particularly if the team aren't playing well, as they probably weren't that day against Inverness. How did you find the experience playing right along the touchline with those stands right on top of you? Was it a fairly positive one, given your age and the fact that the fans would have probably maybe given you more scope to make those odd mistakes?
Yeah, I think so. At that age, like you said, it can be an intimidating place. But I think when you're 17 at that age, I think most fans understand that he's a young boy, he's learning his trade, and I couldn't say a bad word about any Hearts fans when I played. I got stick. I know I did, but everyone does. I'm no any different from anyone else. Regardless, you see stuff now. You can watch. I see folk getting Messi and Ronaldo stick. So what chance have I got if Messi and Ronaldo are getting stick? Stuff like that. But as I've got older, I've learned to deal with that a lot better. Because there'd be times at Hearts when I was in and out the team and I was playing and I was trying so hard and too hard at times. Because all my mates were Jambos. I was wanting to impress them. I was wanting to impress my family. You want to impress the fans, and it did mean a lot to you. But that can work against you. It was at times it was difficult, and at times it's like when Tynecastle's rocking, it's brilliant. It's probably one of the best ones in Scotland, and I know a lot of the away teams talk about that. But when it isn't going your way, I've been on the other end of that. there's been plenty of times I've probably went up right hand side and crossed the ball over the bar, which I know I have definitely, and I've took a bit of stick for it. But that's what I was at the time, and that's how things were going, and you just had to deal with that. And I probably didn't deal with it as well as I could have done, which might have helped my career. Anyway, I might have got more game time or whatever, and that was maybe just that was my mentality at the time, that I wasn't any shrinking violet or anything like that. It was just stuff could get me, and I could use somebody like Lee Wallace as an example, who me and him sort of broke into the team at the same time. But Lee couldn't care less about anything, really. Everything right over his head, and he had that laid back sort of mentality and demeanour about himself, which I think is a massive positive that's helped Lee going, and he's done well for himself. Whereas I was maybe a wee bit on the other side of that, and I probably kept all that to myself as well. Nobody's ever, no that anyone ever asked, but it's just at times, you had so much pressure, whereas there probably wasn't that much pressure, but in my head I could build up that I need to do so well because I'm a Hearts fan, because I'm this, because I'm that. I've got whoever watching me, but at times if I could have dealt with that better, I might have had a better run of games or a better career as it was at Hearts.
Now, keeping in with atmosphere, that's going to perfectly segue to our next question, but what we'll do next is, it's just coming up very shortly to 7 o'clock, so we'll just get an early ad break or two, allow Jason to compose himself again, and then we'll come right back with Jason Thomson to discuss his Hearts career. Stay tuned to Radio Saltire.
Music for Scotland. This is Radio Saltire.
Welcome back to Monday Night Football on Radio Saltire. I'm going to take over for a little bit because it's a nice wee line of questioning that Scott's got lined up. So, sort of coming off what Scott was saying prior, about you making your debut and getting into the first team. A couple of weeks after that, you were called upon again, and it was your first Edinburgh derby. In terms of how you'd prepared for your first game against Inverness, even as a youth player, how different was the preparation for that match than what it would be for any other?
Personally, the preparation for myself and the team and stuff, it was all sort of similar. But growing up through the ranks and playing under 15s, 17s, youth level, I was with John McGlynn's and your Darren Murray's who are Hearts fans, so they made you aware of this game matters. And obviously I grew up a fan, and I knew how much this game mattered to the punters. So it was I did trying to treat it like any other game. Again, I've mentioned that a few times. I still was only 17, so I was probably a silly wee lad at the time. It didn't really mean as much as it probably should have. But it was my first Edinburgh derby, which is another thing. Growing up wanting to play for Hearts, yes, I did that against Inverness. 2, do you want to play in an Edinburgh derby? Yes. And then, do you want to win it? Which didn't quite happen, Yeah, I talked to you before that there. I think we were beat 2-1, and I might have helped Gary O'Connor with one of his goals, which at the time was devastating. I mind after that game I was close to tears. I'd had a couple of the senior players had a go at me, which they were right to do. And I mind leaving, and my mum and dad were standing outside Tynecastle entrance, and I've walked out, close to tears. That's kind of what it meant. And my mum and dad just whatever put their arm around me and stuff. And I mind Presley had come in after, and he had said that he had told the press that he was more at fault for the goal than I was. Which he was doing the captain's thing. A senior player trying to take a lot of the blame, which I knew, which was good, but I knew deep down that it was my fault. So there was no getting away from that. But the derbies are massive. I played in a few after, and I've played at Easter Road a few times now with Raith and stuff, and they were great games. Especially I was at the last derby at Easter Road. I went along with a few mates and watched. Again, that was not great either. But they're great games, and especially for a player. As much as Tynecastle is good, and great atmosphere and great games, but playing at Easter Road in the derby was brilliant. I've got a few memories of that. A few memories of being on, even most of the time I might have been on the bench, but see, warming up at Easter Road, it was brilliant as well. The abuse you got and that, and it was just the whole thing, because you have to run past the fans to get warming up behind the goal. So the whole thing surrounding the Hearts and Hibs is brilliant. I think, you know, and obviously Hibs have probably took the lead at the moment in terms of this season, and you know, Hearts are still trying to get a few things sorted, but you know, I'm sure it'll all even out again, and you know, it's a great rivalry to have, and you know, it's one again, and I'm not scared to say it's stuff that I'm proud to have, that I've played and stuff. I've not had a fantastic career where I've won this, won that, and stuff like that, but you're at levels where there is other milestones that mean stuff to you, like I said, playing for Hearts or playing in the derby and stuff. So yeah, they were great games to be involved in. And as I got older, and the likes of Gary Locke and Billy Brown and Jim Jeffries come, you know, they had more of a... I'm trying to look for a nice word to describe how Lockie would get you fired up for a game, but you know, they had a way of letting you know that this was a derby. You know, I think everyone knows that Gary Locke's passion for Hearts and derbies and stuff. So at the time, there might have been a few foreigners where it was just another game, which, you know, that's a positive as well. It's not always a negative that they don't know what this game means, but you know, they had to find that sort of balance where they had to realise how much this game meant to fans and punters, and that might be something, I don't know, that is missing at the moment. You know, I've not seen a lot of Hearts, and I wouldn't like to comment too much on that, but if there's things you might have heard or fans have said that might be, that sort of mentality might be missing compared to what Hibs have at the moment.
I'm sure you're reading the notes because you've pretty much just segued right into what I was going to ask you next. Because I mean, one thing that's been directed at Hearts players, and I suppose one thing as a Hibs fan I've seen over the years, is this notion that one set of players were up for it more than the other. I think in the last couple of years at least, under Lennon and Alan Stubbs, that you know, this Hibs team isn't like your typical, what used to be a Hibs team can would turn up at Tynecastle and Easter Road in a wavy confidence, and would just roll over and get their bellies tickled.
Yep.
And like you say, you mentioned, you know, folk like Gary Locke, Billy Brown, Jim Jeffries, you know, dyed in the wool Hearts men. I mean, was there anything in terms of, you know, the derbies that you were involved in? I know you said that there's probably no many things that you can say at 7:05 about how Gary Locke could get you fired up, but I mean, you know, was there... They made you... you obviously knew, because you're a Hearts fan.
Yep.
And you spoke about the foreign guys, who probably it's a good thing that they didn't know as much, so they can maybe go out and play without pressure.
Yep.
But I'm guessing that before these games, like folk like Locke, Jeffries, Brown, they knew exactly how to get you fired up before going out.
Well, and you know, these guys, like I said, anyone that knows Lockie, it's no just, for instance, it's not just Derby week. Lockie's talking about Hearts or hating Hibs. It's constant. That's him. That's his life. But as the week goes on and you get closer to a derby match, you know, things can get a bit more intense. But I mean, at a level that they understand it, it's just a game of football. You know, that's what needs to be played. You know, you hear it so often: play the game and know the occasion, which at times people do. And like you said, Hibs have maybe got that core at the moment where things are going their way, and they might have. But at times, also, I think, you know, it's easy to say that. You know, it can be easy to say, oh, that means more to him, it means more to that. But, you know, when you look back, they haven't played well either. So, you know, it's a mixture of things. It's not just, oh, he doesn't know what it means to the fans. You know, that it is a mixture of things. It's not just, you know, I don't think you can just point the finger at that.
Do you think the fans can get caught up in that a wee bit too much at times and thinking, because obviously it means so much to us, maybe overlooking the fact that kind of somebody maybe doesn't go for that 50-50, or maybe doesn't... You know, if there's a wee fracas, doesn't get involved, that they can be accused of not caring too much, when maybe, like you say, they're just trying to play the game and know the occasion itself.
You know, you do need to keep a cool head at times. You know, there's been plenty of derbies where they're sending offs, and you know that can descend the result of the game. If you know, if it's all right saying, "Oh, go and smash them." You smash them, you send off, and your team gets beat 3-0. You know, it's. Whereas I know fans would like that. I know some fans would love that.
You'd love that. Yeah.
Well, there you go. I know some boys would love it, but when you're out in that park, you need to just, you know, you need to keep a cool head. Which it's easier said than done. Like when you go to Easter Road or when you're at Tynecastle, you know, it's a cauldron. It's really intense. You know, it is intense when you're playing the noise volume, and it's probably getting through as a player. It's getting through the first sort of 10 minutes, thinking, you know, try and settle yourself down. Especially when I was young playing, it was like trying to settle yourself down and just try and and play the game and don't get caught up in the occasion, which is, you know, it's pretty easy too. Like, you know, I sat at Easter Road a few months ago and I seen some fans, you know, screaming, but that is just like the passion that some of the fans have. And look, I'm one of the guys that everyone is entitled to their opinion. Not all matter, not all are important, but you know, everyone has got their opinions. You know, without slagging any fans, and I'm certainly not having a go at any fans or anything like that before anyone starts. But when you're out in that park, it's the opinions. You know, I see football as a big, massive game. I see life like that as a big, massive game of opinions. Unless in football, if you're a top player, I think it's a big, massive game of opinions. Whether he likes you, he might like you, but as a player, do I care so much if Mr. A fan likes me, or would I care more if my manager likes me? I'll care more if my manager likes me. But that's no disregarding fans. That's having the mentality to know that what's more important to you than somebody giving you abuse, whatever, or the manager liking you. You know, I would rather my manager like me than
us three.
Aye.
Well, that's
or 5,000 Hearts fans. Didn't get me wrong, it'd be brilliant if everyone liked you and everyone loved you and everything just went together, but it doesn't quite go like that. But that's no disregarding the fans, because as you say, I'm a Hearts fan as well. I understand that the passion and they have, and at times it needs to be shown that your appreciation to the fans, whether that's beating Hibs or whether that's Hibs beating Hearts, it's finding that balance. And I just think people get caught up in it an awful lot, that you need to care what so and so said or he said. Everyone's different. Every player and every individual. I know that there'll be loads of supporters, lots of players that care what the fans think, and that's, everyone's different. Everyone handles it in a different way.
Great. With that, just quickly touching on that, then, your first season coming in and out of the team, few appearances. Obviously, you got that dressing down in the Derby game. Speaking of opinions, how would you assess your first season in that team? How much of it can you remember?
Well, again, you're talking, what we're talking, 13 years ago? Nearly 13 years ago. So, I mean, I was just a young boy, and I'd played. I don't know if I went and played. see to slag myself even more. See the game after Hibs, we played Dundee United at Tynecastle, and I think I gave another goal away. There you go. So.
See, I was writing the questions. I didn't mention the Dundee United game. I was there. I wasn't going to say it.
But you know, what can I do now about it? You know, at the time, like I said to you, I'd probably come away for the game heartbroken again. We got beat, I think, again. So my first 3 games, I played 3, beat 3, which isn't great, is it, in any sort of walk of life? But I was still young, and I went and had a spell at Livingston on loan. I went for the season. I had to get an op on my ankle. I'd done something to my ankle, but you know, that was another learning experience. I was down a level, we were down a division, and you know, I really enjoyed my time out on loan, and it's something that I possibly wish I'd done later on in my career, is possibly left Hearts sooner than I did, just to go out and get games and develop more as a player. But it's easy saying that because I became comfortable at Hearts. You know, I've openly admit I became comfortable. Maybe I wasn't playing, but I was getting alright money, decent money for what I had done at the club, and I'm no scared to admit that. I mean, there was guys getting 10 times as much as me and probably taking less than me. So it's not like I was at the club stealing money. You know, I was trying, but I did get into a period where I was pretty comfortable, and whether I was playing or no, I wanted to play. Of course I did. Everyone wants to play, but it should have bothered me more than it did. Which, looking back now, is maybe a bit naive for myself, but you know, you learn from that, and there's nothing I can do now.
Totally.
Going back after that sort of breakthrough season, then the summer of 2005 saw a lot of changes in terms of, you know, staff, playing staff, coaching wise. John Robertson was let go. George Burley came in. What was your sort of prime ambition at that season. Did you feel quite comfortable knowing that at that age you could spend a season down with the under-19s and try and develop your game there without the focus and glare of playing first team football? Or did you actually still have ambitions to maybe try and find fight your way into the first team regardless of the number of signings we'd made?
I think first of all, everyone's ambition at playing at under-19s was to get into that first team, and I'd had a taste of it the year before, so it was something that I wanted to keep going. For there was many reasons. See, growing up, there was many reasons you wanted to play in the first team. It's Hearts. I wanted to play with Hearts. You wanted to play at the highest level you can. I was on my last year at 19s. 19s football was great. I don't think they have as competitive as it was back then. It was good. There's some really good players that played it, but you wanted to get out of that as soon as you could and go and play at a higher level. But as it speed, George Burley come in and he had different ideas. George Burley done wonders for the club. I think what was it, 10 games in a row he was unbeaten or won, and eventually Romanoff wielded the axe, which he tended to do. But in terms of the under-19s team, there wasn't George Burley was one of the ones that the under-19s team didn't particularly like, let's say, because he wasn't there really up for giving any youngsters a chance. Somebody might go and find a game where there's a few youngsters played, which I'm probably sure they did, but just the way things were run and about the club, it was a bit like you felt your chance was you were never going to get one with George Burley. So out of your 20,000 Hearts fans that were probably very unhappy that George Burley had been sacked, there was a quarter under-19s players who were very happy, let's say, which is football. That's no. I was here or near or there really that he was away. I was happy, let's say, along with the rest of the 19s, but I wasn't really happy that he had lost his job because he had done such a great job and built a team. I think what a team they had then. I think you had your Breliers, Takis Fisas, top quality players, Roland Bednar, Janskowskis. It was a great team. But unfortunately, or fortunately for some folk, that Romanoff played his part.
You did start a couple of games under George in the friendly matches, I think, maybe when I know they were over in Ireland for a spell, but they did play Stirling and Berwick as well. Now, there would have been a number of trialists and players being brought in and out of the club at the time because there was this revolving door policy. What was your memories about the sort of change in terms of quality? How much had it actually moved a couple of levels, even from the sort of squad that you'd played 2 or 3 times with the season before?
That's probably a good point. I'm sitting saying that none of the 19s were given a chance, but probably the way they had recruited and the players that come in, they probably weren't up to that level and weren't good enough for the George Burley team, which is that's football. That's something that we need to do, is to improve ourselves. That we probably never done, but that was some of the players that come in, and the levels, like you say, the levels did increase, and it became more and more difficult to try and break into the first team than previously had. And I think that happened throughout the time I was there. It was when I first broke into the team, there was maybe whoever, Robbie was there, Nielsen was there for 10 years, and he was a hard man to shift. As much as I know he had his fans, and I know he had some fans who always didn't take to him, but I think Robbie done really well at Hearts. It's somebody who I think was maybe not as appreciated as much as you like when you see right backs now. I think probably Callum Patterson's the only one since then that's come in and done really well. I was saying that Gowser had his time at right back, but Callum Patterson's went on, and he's got a money move and stuff. So since Robbie took all the stick and that, and he probably wasn't easy on the eye, a bit like myself. It's maybe not easy to watch at times and a bit cumbersome and stuff, but I think he was very, very underrated.
In terms of that season then, I know that when we spoke with Callum Elliott a couple of years ago, he referred to it was almost like purgatory. If you weren't in the first team, there was almost this thing. I think he christened them the bomb squad. And it was a case of finding it really difficult to make an impression and actually impress people, not just on a Saturday but also at training. It was just hard to get someone's attention because there was a number of different trialists coming in and out. There was up to maybe around 90 jerseys at a time getting taken at the training field. How did you find that personally?
Yeah, like you say, it was difficult, and I found myself in a few bomb squads as it was put. But you know, I was saying earlier that I remember a week up at the academy one time where I think in 1 week the 19s/21s, whatever it was at the time, we played 3 practice matches with 3 different Lithuanian 11s. And
how many of them can you name?
well, I think that what the purpose of the exercise, whatever was the games would be watched, and anyone that was up to whose ever standard was invited back to come in, and whether they signed or whether they stayed for a week or a month or whatever, because there was ins and outs all the time, and you know, that's where Mr. Beslesia, I mind he that's who I played against him. I can mind it up on the top Astro up at the academy, busload off from wherever. I know Mercer's no Lithuanian, but they ended up signing him for
800 grand.
800 grand.
The Bosnian bullet.
So he must have done well that day against me, actually, now that I think about that. I've never thought about that, but it was difficult. I mean, don't get me wrong, there was guys who broke in, like I can use Lee and Callum as examples. You know, I'm not saying I never got in because there were so many players. I never got in because I wasn't good enough, or in whoever's opinion I wasn't good enough, which you need to accept and get on with. And but you know, when you compare that to now or the season before, you've seen the amount. When we talked about Callum Patterson there's been an influx of the youth team, which I think is great. You know, at my youth team there was probably myself, Andy Driver, Callum Elliott, Lee Wallace. You know, Christoph was in the youth team, Jamie McDonald, but they were older, so we all played in the first team. But it was difficult to get into that team at times. And then you seen maybe the age group of your Callum Patterson, Jamie Walker, Jason Holt, who then, and I'm not saying that they deserved it. They deserved to get in because you know all 3 I've just mentioned really good players. But it was probably easier to get in to the Hearts team at the time when they broke into the team. And since our age group, you know, there probably hasn't been that much in between until you hit that age group again. So it's good to see, and you know, now, you know, I don't like I say, I didn't see Hearts very often, but you know, there is a lot of other boys coming through the ranks, which I believe the way it should be. And at the time, the Romanov period, like I said before, I was there before, during and after, so you know, there's been so much ins and outs I've seen, but at times they did have, you know, they had great teams, and it was difficult to push into them.
In terms of that season then, prior to joining Livingston the following year on loan, I've just got a couple of quick questions, okay, and you might not even have answers for it, you might even decline, okay, so it's fine if you want to. What's your take on what happened with George Burley?
My take, I wish I really had a really juicy story for you, but I really don't. My take was, you had a manager who had won, what did we say, 10 games, and for whatever reason he was sacked. Whether, you know, there was all sorts of stuff that Romanov didn't like. Sunday was doing so well, this, that and the other. Romanov, he wanted to pick the team, he wasn't playing, this, that and the other. And you know, you heard stories. They signed, there's 2 guys they signed, Ibrahim Tal and
Kamazola.
Sami Kamazola, right? And you know, there was Chinese whispers went through Hearts and everything with Romanov, and you were told, oh, Romanov signed these guys, he's giving them so much money a week that they're going to have to play, the board are going to have to sign this over, sign that over, because Romanov is the one who's paying the wages. He signed these guys, if he didn't, he's not going to pay the wages. And you know, it went on and on with, you know, I think Penila and, you know, a number of other players. But you know, Ibrahim Tal coming in done pretty well for Hearts. Sammy probably no as good, but he was a decent player. So it wasn't like that he was just signing players for the sake of it. You know, like, don't get me wrong, there was a lot of nonsense that come in, probably a lot of crap rubbish players, however. But there was good players as well. But going back to the George Burley situation, I'm not totally sure what went down, but as far as I'm aware, that was a manager 10 games won, and Romanov had seen enough, basically. You know, who knows what Hearts might have done that season.
And the other sort of quick question I had for you, just again, this one actually sort of links more to Romanov. Did you have any sort of first-hand experience of some of his eccentric ways? Were you ever involved in any sort of team meetings or whatever that might be during that time where you were thinking to yourself, what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, I was involved. There was a few pre-season trips. You know, I went to Lithuania, and I'm trying to think of all the places we went to, Austria and stuff, and Romanov would turn up sometimes. You know, and I mind the first time I seen him, I couldn't believe how small he was. He was tiny. First of all, I don't know if you ever mind the footage it went with him and Rowan Bednar having a...
Aye, that was the 07-08 one.
Boxing,
was that Austria they were in at the time?
I watched that for about 20 yards away. It was brilliant. This mad wee Russian guy, him and Bednar got the gloves on and went for it. And Romanov got the better of him, actually. I mind Bednar getting on the bus raging. He was getting stick for the boys, and you know, he was just trying to play about, and Romanov stuck one on him. So he used to come... Pre-season was the most time you probably seen him. We had a meeting one time, I think it was in Lithuania, and you know, he obviously knew who we were. I was still a youngster, and you never thought. And I mind sitting, we were listening to him one day because he was speaking through his translator, and the next thing, something about ginger hair. And I sort of take notice, think, what's he got with ginger hair? Because I'm ginger hair, obviously. So what's this? And he went on about some story about a ginger hair guy that used to get bullied at school, basically, for no apparent reason, and use me as a sort of example. So I come away thinking, not a clue what is he thinking, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing?
At least he's noticed you.
At least he's noticed me, sort of thing. But that was, I mean, I know Romanov took a lot of stick, and you know, he done well for the club, and he didn't do, you know, you had your Scottish Cups, and he used money that we never had. I understand all that, but I got, to put it bluntly, I got a very decent pay for what I'd done at the club. Like I said to you before, I'd probably pay. I mean, I'll tell you for an example. The youth team, we were all going up to find out if we were getting contracts last year. The youth team, and I was going to sign with Livingston for 3 years because I'd been on loan, and I was going to sign with Livingston, and I'd been offered a 1 year for Hearts. Driver and stuff had been playing, so there was a guy, John Neal, who'd been offered 2 years, and the rest of the boys were getting released. And I mind going in. It wasn't Romanov who personally took this chat with us, but we went in individually. One of the boys come out, and I was second to go in, and he's like, "You're not going to believe what's just happened in there." And I'm saying, "What can it be?" So I went in, and it's like, "We want to offer you a 5-year deal." And I was 19, and I just mind going outside, phoning my dad, and he says, "Get it signed." And that was to about 10 or 11 guys who were getting released. So I think the logic, if there is any logic behind it, was that one player out of there will become brilliant and we'll sell him on, which didn't quite work. And then you had this backlog of players get building up.
It's similar to what Chelsea do just now, isn't it? It's
but they can afford it.
Aye, well, that's the difference.
And it got to a stage where you had guys who I knew, or they probably knew, that they were never going to play for Hearts first team. But if somebody offered you 5-year contract on X amount of wages, what, you're going to take it, which I did and all these guys did. But you know, a lot of these guys then went on to get paid off in lump sums, which financially wouldn't have helped the club. But that was a situation that the club put themselves in, but by doing this. So I mean, I've got great things to say about Romanov because no, like I wasn't getting thousands and millions of pounds a week, but it was, I'll admit, I was getting more money than I probably should have been for what I had done in my football career. But I wasn't going to say no.
You're not going to say no, are you?
you just keep that weight till I've played more games and then give me it. And that was probably part of the problem. And you see that now. I think part of the problem when you see that in England, you see guys getting 20-30 grand a week that have not even played in the first team. So you can see. I mean,
Sinclair played for Liverpool 2 games and was wanting 60 grand a week. It's
so
it can be crazy.
I'm telling you now, from my point of view, mentality, getting up in, I've had it again 30 times less than that. So that's coming through. But you can imagine guys getting 30 grand a week.
I'm
What?
doing the sums there, just when
Ah,
you said
no,
30 times.
I'm just trying to get.
Divided by 30, yeah.
I'm just trying to get, paint a picture as to what it was
Yeah.
like at the time for myself and all these other boys who thought I'm going to be getting released in this, and the next thing they've got a 5-year contract, and for my first 2 years I'm just going to go. If nothing happens, I've still got another 3 years.
Do you ever think back and think, what if I'd went to Livingston?
Yep,
Took that 3 years.
I do, because I'll tell you the reason I do think that is because, see, when I joined Raith when I was 24, and I've had my first season and I had a really good season, and I thought if I'd done this 3 years ago, might I have got something a little bit better than I did. But it's hard, it's a catch-22 that I probably should have maybe left and went on and seen, but then you look on the other side of it, I've helped me and my family have a decent start in life, basically, that can get stuff done that I possibly couldn't have done if I hadn't signed
Give
a
you that
contract.
security.
Yeah, basically, aye.
In terms of when you came back for Livingston, then again, revolving door policy. Even Auskus had been in and out by that stage. Stevie Frail almost had the sort of temporary reins as manager along with Korobotchka, and you were included in the last 5 games of that season. Now there was a couple of wins in there, it wasn't all defeats, so
There you go.
you're not running some sort of Jack Rodwell or Gareth Bale-esque kind of losing streak there. But what sort of assurances did Stevie Frail offer you as a player when you came back for Livingston about what your plans, how you might have been included in his plans?
Well, at the time, because I think Shaggy had helped with the youth team and stuff, so he knew what type of player I was. But he would also have, probably in the back of his mind, he probably didn't think he'd be the manager for however long. I can't even mind how long Shaggy lasted.
You got the full season, to be fair.
So he ended up with the full season. But I can't even mind having a specific conversation with Shaggy. But I could imagine that, like you would have said to the rest of us, look, the opportunity's there, you just need to take it, and at times it might be out with my hands, which it probably was. I wouldn't say, I'm not saying that for definite, but it's no hard to see that at times that stuff like that probably was going on, that Romanoff was having his input.
Dark arts.
Aye, well, there you go. He was having his input, and at times it didn't matter what you were doing in training, how you had played the week before, or how you were playing in the reserve team. Sometimes it probably didn't matter, which is difficult for a player, for a manager, but that's the way the club was run at the time, and it had its positives, it had its negatives, but it's done now, and I know Hearts are they're probably still trying to recover from that period, which isn't great, and you can see stuff now. They're doing fantastically things off the pitch now with the new stand and the new sort of community thing they've got going on at the club. It's just about trying to get right in the pitch at the moment.
And then naturally again Stephen moved on, and then we were then introduced to Shaba Laszlo, and that's probably during that kind of 14-15 month spell under him, you were certainly a more integral part of the squad. You played a lot of games at right back. You also covered for Lee at stages as well, over on the left side of the pitch as well. What were your memories of playing under Shaba, and what was he like to deal with as a personality? He came across quite sort of aloof and friendly and cuddly in terms of his poster pre-match interviews, but what was he like behind closed doors, especially in games where things weren't going well?
I like you say, that was when I played my most football. It probably wasn't an awful lot, but it was probably my most, and I really liked Shaba. I liked the way he did things, and it was probably my first eye opener of doing a lot of he used to go on about tactics or tactical shape. John McGlynn used to like to do stuff like that, but not to the the degree at Shaba would it be most days at training, which for boys that play football, shape every day at training's a no-no, but it needs to be done, and that was the way he had things. He changed different ways. We were in Sundays, and sometimes didn't get our days off, and which boys don't like, but he had his way of doing things, and like you say, that he was a good motivator. He was a good speaker, and there was an instant. I can't mind. We were playing Hibs. I mind it because I was called up to the office with him and Mikey Stewart, and he says, "You're going to play on Saturday and you're going to kick Riordan." Michael says you'll kick Riordan. I says, oh, right, no problem. And he says, obviously says, Riordan was probably flying at the time. He was scoring goals, and I want you to go mark, basically just mark Riordan. I can't mind how that actually went. I don't know if
was that the 0-0 game where you got the man of the match?
That's probably it actually.
I do remember that.
Was John Hughes maybe the manager?
Yogi was there.
So I done exactly what he told me today. I marked him out the game, but nah. So there was times where I would, like you say, I'd go into the team and then he would just pull you saying, look, I'm going to use you for this game, that game, and a lot of the young boys liked him. I'm not sure on how much youngsters played. I might have been 21 at the time, so I wasn't a young boy, but it was. I certainly enjoyed my time, and he's up at Dundee United. I had a few phone calls before he got that job asking about him, and I only had praise for Shabba.
In terms of sort of how things ended with the club, then there was naturally. Now, am I right in thinking there was another contract that was offered to you when you were with Shabba? Did you sign another contract?
I did. Yep.
Even although you were in the middle.
I was in the middle.
So what exactly was the reason for that? Was that on the club's behalf then? Were they just looking to try and restructure the deal?
Yeah, it was basically that. I think I had 2 years left. I was still on my 5-year deal at this point. So I think I had 2 years left, and I signed an extra year. Negotiated the contract and signed an extra year. But I could see the purpose behind that. I'd probably been playing a bit, and and I felt part. Under Shabba was probably the maybe the one and only time I felt part of a proper squad. There was times I was in and out of the team and on the bench, or I wasn't even getting on the bench and stuff. But under Shabba, I felt probably for the first time part of a Hearts team, which. Being there 9 years isn't great, really. That was the only time I really felt part of it. But that's where I was. That was my place. Whether, like I said to you, opinions didn't think I was good enough or whatever else. But that certainly under Shabba was one of my better, fonder memories of my time at the club.
So in terms of you leaving the club in 2011, was it down mostly to your yearning for first team football? Was there a little bit of that financial side with the club putting any pressure on players to maybe try and cut their ties prematurely?
Yeah, there was throughout my time there was always pressure. Like I said to you, there was boys who knew they weren't going to play, and there was playoffs, and my time was probably coming down that food chain. It worked its way, and it was probably coming to me. In the start of 2011, I think Jim Jeffries was manager at the time, and I went along to Dunfermline, but they had just been promoted to the Premier League, so I seen that as that was a massive positive for me, getting to go and play in the Premier League still with a team just promoted. And I went. I think I played about 15 games for Dunfermline. I got torn my groin in October, and I never played again till Christmas Eve or something. And Jim McIntosh at the time, Dunfermline manager, had somebody else lined up, and I was sent back to Hearts where Sergio and stuff had come in and took over, and at that time they had quite a big squad as well, and I was told that I was surplus to requirements. Really, I had 6 months left. I think they tried to offer a contract sort of thing at the time, but I seen it as I had 6 months and I was going to get my 6 months pay, and I have to stick for it before, and I probably always will. That you just sat there and took money for the last 6 months, so to speak, but. That's in my contract, so I'm entitled to that. But I can see other opinions saying, you should have moved on, you should have took this, that and the other. But it was in my contract, so I didn't view it as doing anything wrong. And luckily enough, I think it was March, April, I ended up joining Raith on loan for, I think it was nine games or something, which then led on to the start of my Raith career. So, it had a purpose, and, I didn't actually have many regrets at Hearts. I'm no one for regret not doing this, regret doing that. I mean, I could have, like anyone, I could have applied myself a lot better. I could have done this, I could have done that, which might have helped me have a better Hearts career. I'm sure I could have. But at the same time, I again, opinions, and there's luck and there's that. But the only things that probably get to me about my time at Hearts is the 2 Scottish Cup when I was there 2006, and I was still part of I was still in the books in 2012, and just never really to be part of that. You know, like I said to you, I was at the 98. I went to the 2006 Scottish Cup final, and I was never part of that. You know, I had Lee and Callum and Driver and Gowser, who've all been part of that. And as I said to you, one of my first memories was the 98 Cup, and I went along to Tynecastle on the Sunday. I was in the stadium, and just to see all that was, you know, that's brilliant. Like, yeah, I'm sure you used to as Hearts fans, the first thing you'd say, what would you want to do? You'd want to win the Scottish Cup with Hearts. I'm pretty sure you would.
Definitely. I mean, just to sort of end our chat on a positive, whilst you were on loan at Dunfermline, you did actually get your first competitive goal in a first team, and I think it was against Kilmarnock.
It was.
What were your memories of that goal?
No great either. Well, it wasn't even a great goal. It was basically, I think, a guy, I can't even mind who it was. It was at Kelly, and I've been up for the corner, and he's trying to clear it, and he's cleared it off me, and it's went in the net. So I didn't score many goals, so I was certainly claiming it. And I think I still claim to this day I got another one that season. It was actually against Hibs, but I think it was given as an own goal. We drew 2-2 at East End. But I'm pretty sure it was live on, I think it was probably ESPN at the time. ESPN or Sertan or something, one of them. And we drew 2-2. And I had a shot that I thought was going in. To this day, so I have scored against Hibs. Kinda.
Well, we're quite happy to verify that for you, Jason. That's not a problem at all.
Well,
but
you definitely assisted one.
There you are.
But no, thank you very much for coming in this evening. Stay tuned, guys. We are going to keep Jason in with us for another 15-20 minutes whilst we dissect the weekend's action. Thanks again for listening on Radio Saltire.
Music for Scotland. This is Radio Saltire.
Welcome back to Monday Night Football here on Radio Saltire. So we're going to spend the last sort of 15 minutes or so of the show talking about, given that Jason's been here and given up his time for us, we'll keep it to sort of a Hearts show. We will likely try and get a midweek show done so we can talk about the Hibs stuff and obviously the big week coming up for Hibs and also some of the other stuff going on at both clubs. But I had I'll say privilege, but more the misfortune of being at Tynecastle on Saturday.
It was a privilege. You got in for free.
I'm not going to knock that, and I did get ripped for my Bovril, which I found an outrageous.
Jason, quick question: Bovrils, boggin or nice?
Nice.
Thank you. Yep.
It's beef. I would drink. I didn't get it.
A wee bit of pepper in there. It's brilliant.
Yep.
Okay.
Can
I'll bow your superior knowledge.
Wholly get on board with that. So I was at Tynecastle in Sean's company for the Hearts game against Hamilton. But a weird one. It was the first time that I'd seen the main stand. Have to say, I think it looks the part. I don't think many Hibs fans will like me saying that, but it certainly looks a lot sight better than the old stand. I know there's that sort of romantic side of it because obviously I still quite miss the old terracing at Easter Road. But obviously, I think
nothing romantic about the asbestos on my shoulders this season. So,
oh well, you've brought in the Hibs patter for me.
I thought I'd try and help you out there, Craig.
But no, obviously 1-1. Scott, what was your thoughts on the game? I mean, we sort of spoke about the Hearts lineup. I mean, I don't know how things are going with Hearts at the moment, but Lafferty being out and Stockton leading the line. What were your thoughts on that?
I think it's generally illness-related issues why Kyle's been on the bench the last 2 weeks. Looking at the team lineup, I mean, it's fairly offensive. You know, you look at it as a 4-3-3 in terms of intent. Now, you could say after watching the game that where we're struggling is the two wide men are not getting close enough to Cole Stockton, and unless he can get the ball in and turn players for 30 yards out and smash them in himself, then he does look quite isolated, and he doesn't look like he's capable of doing that, to be fair to him. So definitely did look a bit isolated during the match. Overall, the team selection, the team pretty much picks itself just now. You know, there isn't a lot of options there or squad depth due to either injuries or certain players being out of favour. So I didn't really have any issues with how we set up our stall at the start of the game, and it was really just a case of then seeing what the tone was going to be for the performance for the first 10-15 minutes or so.
I would certainly say if Kyle Lafferty was fit at the moment, especially on the basis of that game, there's probably more chance of him coming in for Isma than there is for him coming in for Cole Stockton, because Isma never had a classic at the weekend there. I think Stockton is bringing something. Craig Levine's looking for him to bring something kind of like Mark De Vries has done in the past. Just someone to do the hold-up play that Kyle Lafferty has tried to do at points but isn't necessarily built to do. He's a bit more of a show pony than that. So I think Stockton, if he can get someone playing close to him, the whole thing is Milinkovic is more a midfielder who gets forward as opposed to a forward to play off a striker.
But that 15-minute spell at the start of the second half, we looked more dangerous because we went more to do with, it was more or less a 3-4-2, bringing Hughes back into the team at half-time, and they just sort of had Milinkovic go more central and just play off of Stockton, and we did actually seem to get little pockets of space, more than we did in the first half, playing with that sort of three up front.
Yep. I think the biggest thing will be if we can get the personnel to a place where we want it to be in January, and we can get Jamie Walker back into actually playing a position off a big striker. I think we could see the type of performances we got with Jamie Walker in the Championship season. You know as well as anyone, because you were sitting next to me, how frustrated I can get with Jamie Walker and his apparent lack of effort to try and get back, especially from offside positions. I think if he's playing in a further forward role, that could definitely benefit him.
To be fair, even I was getting a bit frustrated, because you think that's the game that type of game that's getting a bit scrappy. Somebody with the talent of Walker, you want him to grab. I said it to you about 2 or 3 times. This is the ideal game for Walker to grab it by the scruff of the neck. Because I thought Hearts started pretty well. There was the chance where Milinkovic broke down the right. He seemed to get the better of the left back fairly easily. I think you were there at that point.
No, I was still making my way to the seats.
And Milinkovic sort of put the ball in, but like you say, Stockton's up there on his own, and he's no put it into a great area. Also back up what you were saying about Goncalves. He seems like he needs maybe 2-3 weeks out of the team, because there was a period in the first half where he tried to do a couple of things on the touchline. One of them was like a back heel, and kind of like when you drag it back and do like a side heel, was just and it just rolled out for a throw, and the fans were immediately on his back, and that can't be any.
At that point in time, he took all of the bile that was being aimed at Bobby Madden by doing something stupid, and instantly just gave the fans an out to just put it all on his back. It's something that, especially someone with his experience,
I think
years in the game, he shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, I think the problem with Goncalves is it's like being stuck between a rock and a hard place. Given that we're playing so many games at home just now, see if we were playing the next couple of games away, you can maybe say, right, keep him in the team. You know, that spotlight that sometimes the fans love a boo boy. He seems to be the target of that just now. But then you look at his personality as a footballer and you think, is he going to benefit from feeling isolated and feeling as if he's not being made a part of the team? I don't know if you can offer any sort of shed any light on that, Jason. How difficult it can be to try and manage certain personalities. You would have seen quite a few guys like that at Hearts, guys like Christian Nadi and that. And I mean, how did the managers try and deal with him?
No, like you say, it's teams always seem to have their boo boy when things aren't going well, and it's a hard one. Guys like that, like you take Christian for instance, and the boy Isma seems to be, as a similar sort of mentality that I think most times he needs an arm around him. I think the more that, the more you shout, the more you boo. It's not going to help anyone. I wouldn't like to be out there getting booed, and like I say, you understand the fans' frustration. I'm sure you do, and there's no point at the standard that a lot of supporters were hoping they were going to do, especially when they've went back to Tynecastle now, and I think was that 2 or 3 games now they've been back, and they're not seen. Yep. It was a bit like, let's get back to Tiny and we'll win now, and it's not quite materialised. And these type of guys like your Isma, who I went to the Kilmarnock game at Murrayfield, which again wasn't a classic, but he's popped up with, he's obviously got ability, and he's the type of guy at times who you will want in the team. And you talked about Jamie Walker. I think the games I've seen, he's Hearts' best player by a mile. And I think that's something that, although you're giving him stick for his work rate, which everyone needs to work hard and stuff, but he's a type of guy you need in the ball when he's getting it and he's fresh. I understand that you need to have guys, everyone needs to be pulling their weight and chasing down, but for the games I've seen, Jamie Walker's the guy who's going to win Hearts games, and I think they need to get him back firing all cylinders.
I think that's why you can see, and that is where the frustration comes from, you can see that he can put a stamp on the game with such little bits of brilliance like that free kick that he stuck in the top corner.
The free kick
But
was a brilliant hit. Like.
There is quite a few Hearts players at the moment that there seems to be an obvious, watching from the stands, it seems to be like an obvious little switch in their head that, right, I'm going to try now. Like, I've been coasting, I've laid off it for 10-15 minutes, and to be honest, you can see that at the highest level of the game. You can see Eden Hazard doing that for Chelsea, no being in the game for 70 minutes and then gets man of the match because he has an unbelievable last 20 minutes. It's not just at Hearts, but I think when you are struggling, you look to those players with that quality to try and pull something out, and when it looks like they can't be bothered, that is when it is the biggest frustration.
I think the reason why there's probably more being highlighted about Jamie's work rate, and I'm not quite sure I agree with it all, is the fact that we don't have specialised players that should be doing that bulk of the work. So we need a proper defensive midfielder. We also need certain other players that can pull their weight in midfield, and because we don't have that, Jamie's almost trying to be master of all trades, jack of all trades, masters of none, and he's trying to do a bit of everything, and that is probably diluting his attacking threat, which means that it's more now coming for, say, like set plays like it was on Saturday. So I suppose this is something that hopefully will get rectified in January with regards to bringing other players in.
Right, going back to the game at the weekend then, one of the biggest talking points, especially with Craig Levine's post-match interview, is the refereeing of Bobby Madden. I had, I'm sure Craig's sick of hearing me talking about it from that game.
I thought you had a good game.
I'm sure you did. Scott, what was your opinion on Bobby Madden? I certainly see him back the sending off incident. I can certainly see why it was a sending off more than I could at the time. But still, in general, what did you think of the game as a whole?
Let's cover the things that he did get right, and the sending off was spot on.
Yep.
It was two bookable offences, so he walked.
It could have been a straight
which
red
is fair enough. I think people have allowed the general performance for Bobby Madden to cloud their judgment on that call, but I think it was right. In terms of his overall performance, he was about as much use as an echo in a coffin, really, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, don't get me wrong, everyone's entitled to a bad day, but I think as Christoph Berra highlighted in the papers today when he was getting asked about it, it wasn't just the fact he was having a bad day, he was getting a lot of easy decisions right, and he's generally not a bad referee. He's not someone who I've found myself having to talk about very often after games, but I don't know what it was. I don't know if he just got caught up in it all. Hamilton are a very streetwise team, and Hamilton have very limited resources, and they know that they've just got to try and accentuate the positives that they have, and one of them is battling and, how shall I put it, knowing how to draw fouls in, knowing how to pull players in out of their comfort zones and get them involved. You saw Christoph generally doesn't get involved in a lot of stuff, but you saw him getting involved on Saturday because there's characters like Dougie Emery and that are just goading him, and they're good at it.
Made a career of
Darian
that.
McKinnon, I mean, some people will say that he's an Aldi version of Scott Brown, and I suppose that's probably true, but he is that type of guy, he's that type of character, and I think that Hamilton, I've said this before about Hamilton games in the past, they do that stuff very well, and I'm afraid Bobby Madden just seemed to get suckered into it along with everyone else.
Jason, see from a player's point of view, how frustrating can it be? I mean, I know I'm kind of playing devil's advocate by saying that I thought Bobby Madden had a good game. I think like you say, the sending off, he got spot on. The McPhee-McKinnon incident, I'm still not quite sure on.
I don't know how you can punish one side and not the
Aye,
other.
well,
I think with that, you've either got to punish both or not at all.
Aye.
He kind of, that was a bit of
obviously
a strange one.
You could see for the sort of reaction of the Hearts players that, that things weren't going their way. How much of a difference does it also make, that if you know that yourself that you're not having a good game, like you say, in front of a 15,000 crowd, that the ref doesn't seem to be on your side as well? Does that just make it 10 times harder?
It is, and it's easy. See, if you're having a bad game and so's the ref, it's easy just to point the finger at the ref. I've done it myself. I might have made a bad tackle or gave something away, and I'll argue, it was the ref, it wasn't me. Well, like you say, I would never be a ref. I don't know why anyone wants to be a ref. It's the hardest job ever. I've played in games where, I've bought fouls or somebody's bought a foul, and it's, I can see why the foul was given, but I know that it's not a foul. So it's, I see the different side of things that. But I'm only going on the highlights from the weekend's game, and there was obviously a few flashpoints and a few decisions, and they're not going to get every decision every decision correct. And I know it's easy for me to sit here and say that, and it's no happened to me over the weekend. It wasn't my team or whatever else, but you know, it is a difficult position to be in. But you know, they choose to be in that position, so you know they need to take any flack that may come their way, whether it's right or wrong.
Right, moving away from the negatives, which, to be fair, at Tynecastle there seems to be a lot of negatives floating about, so I want to accentuate one of the positives, and I'm really glad that it's one of the positives, because I had made a point of saying to Craig before the game that it could very well be one of the positives, and that is McLaughlin in goals. I thought McLaughlin had an outstanding game at the weekend, and very well got us a point from that game.
He stopped that for being 4 or 5, I think. Genuinely, for the saves that he made. And I'm genuinely.
If there wasn't a goalie in goals, maybe 4 or 5. But I think you're seeing now his commanding of the box, especially from corners. They were trying to flood them all in on top of him, which, apart from the one that they dropped short, which was the one they actually got the goal from, every other one just didn't work, because he's a big enough and strong enough laddie that was able to come for them. That the reflex save from the one to up to his top right.
So when Templeton hit the post and that Meechan was in for the rebound,
was I would say probably Craig Gordon, Anthony Niemi type level save. One of those ones that you're not expecting your keeper to make that save at that point in time. You're expecting it to flash into the back of the net. I thought it was a really assured performance from him. Even the ones you didn't see on highlights, when he's rushing out at players' feet and just takes the ball cleanly. So many keepers nowadays, yes, they play as a sweeper keeper, and they can come and nick the ball away with their feet. But when the challenge is there for them to come out with their hands, whether they've got the bravery or the timing to come for that is something that's somewhat lacking in modern day football. I think he's got a wee bit of touch of the older style keeper to him, which I think is a great thing for breeding confidence in the defenders in front of him, especially when we've got young defenders. Quickly, Jason, because we've not got much time left, how important is it having a strong keeper behind you?
No, I think that's a massive point. You know, it's a massive part of the team is your goalkeeper. You know, it can be easy forgotten about at times and whatever else, but you know, thinking from a Hearts point of view, you know, I don't know who you've been crying out for a keeper for a wee while. You know, I know the last couple of years it's, you know, I'm a big Jamie McDonald fan. I'm maybe a bit biased because I played with him through the youth team and stuff. So you know, I don't know if they've had a solid number one since Jamie. But you know, like I say, I've not seen much of Hearts this season. But you know, the reports and the things I've heard on McLaughlin, you know, it seems to be a positive, and I think that's where you can start to build your team from.
I think, as you say, Jack Hamilton always tried his best for the team, but I still think there is possibly a future for Jack Hamilton with Hearts.
No, of course.
But I think another couple of years learning, especially from a keeper with the abilities such as John McLaughlin when taking crosses and stuff, is such a strength for him, and is probably one of the weakest things in Jack Hamilton's game. I think will stand him in better stead going forward. So, Scott, what did you think of McLaughlin's performance?
Yeah, I mean, I've been generally impressed with him since he came in. It's not a negative on him, it's just a negative on the way the team's playing just now. I think one of the reasons we brought him in and we tried to give him that sort of platform to perform instead of Jack was because Jack was struggling more with the ball at his feet. And having watched John McLaughlin play for the likes of Bradford and Rotherham and that's generally a part of his game that he doesn't struggle with.
Yep.
So it's a bit of a disappointment that we haven't been able to see him use that to his strength, but I think that's more to do with the lack of confidence we've got as a team in front of him, and hopefully that's something that'll come on. Like Jason says, you know, if you want to start, you start from the back in terms of sort of rebuilding your side, and Levine's got form for that. So hopefully he's here for the duration. I know he's only on a year's contract, so hopefully he's here past that stage.
Aye, I'm pretty certain with things how they are just now, the wheels will probably be in motion for some kind of extension. I know for a fact that John McLaughlin's happy at the club just now. I don't think he'll be have any ideas of moving on at the moment. So I'm hoping that'll be the case, because I think we've definitely got a keeper there we can build on for at least another couple of seasons. Any other positives to take from the game, Scott?
3 games undefeated. That is a positive spin, but somebody's got to do it. No, look, I know a lot of people have came out saying, oh my God, we're only 3 points above second bottom. If we beat Motherwell, we're only 2 points behind fifth. And look, don't get me wrong, we really do need to start picking up points, because after Motherwell and Dundee, it's Celtic at home, Hibs at home, St Johnstone away, Aberdeen away. That's a very difficult 4 games. So, not that I'm looking to put pressure on the team, but the next 2 home games are going to be vital to seeing what sort of momentum we can try and build up before the sort of really tough spell comes in over the Christmas period.
Are you seeing now as damage control until January and then players coming in or players going out, or do you think we can turn it around before then?
No, I think it is damage control. Craig Levein can't come out and say that in August, but that's always been the intention of the club once that Caffro experiment had failed. You know, but we were still left with that legacy of the players and the style of play that he wanted to install, which wasn't going to work in that environment and in that league. So Levein's always needed to come in and just play damage control until then, until we can start maybe identifying which areas of the park we need to, you know, sort out, which he's already done. He said, you know, wide areas, central midfield, either both defensively and offensively, and a left back, which I don't think there's any Hearts fans that would disagree with that. So I do think come January it will start to look better, and the good thing is we've got a good 20 days to try and build on that before we get Hibs in the Cup.
Yep. The worrying thing in the short term, though, is we've not got a manager, an assistant manager, or a right back in the equation. Yes, we do have other players in reserve at the moment.
If Jason's got Vlad's number, he could always see if the fax machine's still available. I don't know. It's just.
Right, well, I think we'll wrap it up for this week. Thanks very much again to Jason for joining us. It's been quite interesting, obviously, as a Hibs fan, to hear your the story of your career and whatnot.
It's always nice to hear the other side of things.
Mm-hmm. Aye. Thanks, obviously, to Scott and Sean tonight as well. It's been a weird one for me, getting an hour and a half solid the Hearts chat. So we'll try and get an episode out during the week, covering the Hibs side of things. Obviously, if you want to get in touch with us at any point, just look for us on Facebook, Monday Night Football, or get us on Twitter at MNFootball, FITBA. And
yeah, keep your eyes peeled on the Twitter. Also, we will be running a competition like we have done for previous players. Jason will be, pressure's on now, Jason, to get it finished. Jason will be picking his best Hearts 11 from his time with the club, and we will be putting that up for you to get your hands on. So stay tuned to all our social media. Stay tuned for this show if you've missed any part of it or you just want to listen again. I'm sure you will want to do for the podcast going out later this week. And thank you very much for listening tonight.